Thank you very much. Now call upon Ms. Gaythri Raman to tell us, she comes from another perspective of what AI they can offer to us.
Thank you very much. Honorable Justice Prasad, distinguished panelists, fellow panelists, and everyone at the audience. Before I start, I'd like to record my sincere appreciation to the President of the Bar Association of India for inviting me to this conference and for your hospitality. And special thanks to Law Asia President as well and the rest of the Law Asia Exco for your continued friendship and hospitality. Thank you very much. Definitely, my perspective today is going to be a little bit different. To give you a little bit of context, LexisNexis is a legal and technology expert, which means we combine legal content, the laws, with technology and provide that into a platform that provides accessibility and transparency. These are very big words. So today I have a few examples to share just to show all of us how this can work if done in the right way. Why do we do it? And why are we so passionate about this? That's because it's our corporate mission, it's our corporate purpose. We have our own rule of law equation: equality under the law, transparency of the law, independent judiciary, and accessible legal remedy. We talk about it all the time, and at the senior leadership level, we have this as our yearly annual deliverables. We also lead the way in business for rule of law. We are very, very passionate about SDG 16. And we do a lot of work because we know this is where our strength is to support the rule of law. Okay. I think in the earlier panel, this was discussed as well. One of the honorable justices talked about it. 5 billion people globally, and so many of them live below the rule of law on a scale of 0 to 1, with countries like Denmark at highest and then Venezuela at the bottom. Our rule of law projects and our rule of law priorities focus on applying technology to law-related information. Okay? These are some of the examples. I list them down. We advise judiciaries on technology adoption, develop online systems, manage data as much as possible, and from a content perspective, laws. We work on managing laws, and we work on how to produce laws in a more consumable and digestible format to regular citizens, not just lawyers. First example, this is a simple one first, and everybody would know about it. We partnered with the International Bar Association. So we created together the Eyewitness of Atrocities is an app. It is downloadable in mobile devices, and it timestamps and GPS stamps all images and videos that are captured, specifically designed for war crimes. So once that is captured, it is transferred directly into the LexisNexis secured databases. And then it is processed for possible evidence to support prosecution of war crimes. To date, we have captured tens of thousands of images. Ukraine is an example. Myanmar is also another example. I think it's really important to understand that we can't just create an app and then expect people to use it. We need to also teach people to use it as well. And one of the impacts is that a military tribunal in the Democratic Republic of Congo found 2 commanders of Democratic Forces for Liberation of Rwanda guilty of murder and torture. And because they had access to photos and video evidence acquired by the app. That's how technology can advance the rule of law. That's one of our projects. The second project is a more simple one. This is the ADAM program. This is one of the projects of the LexisNexis Risk Solutions team. If you are aware, some of you might be aware, in the US, every time a child is missing or a child is suspected to be kidnapped, an Amber Alert is raised. And when that Amber Alert is raised, then you have a lot of authorities looking for the child across different jurisdictions, cross boundaries, state boundaries as well. Adam uses fax technology. There are many, many small sheriffs in the US. The federal may not be talking immediately to the state law enforcement agencies. So it uses fax technology. It distributes missing child posters, information of missing children to the police, news media, everybody, as fast as possible so that people can find the child. And to date, this particular program has successfully recovered 155 missing children. Now, on to my personal favorite, because I was involved in it myself. I'm just going to describe a situation in Myanmar for you. This was 2013, 2014. If you landed in Myanmar, you would see people selling laws on the streets. They would be selling laws for $3 US, $4 US, and these would be paper, stapled haphazardly, and they would say this is the new law. You wouldn't know whether this was a legitimate law or not, you wouldn't know, but at that particular time, people were really, really invested in looking at the law, treating the law seriously. But they didn't know how to do it. They just, sold these for $2. On the other hand, from a digital perspective, for the longest time in Myanmar, if you used Facebook, you did not have to pay the fees required for data, connectivity, etc. So Facebook was free. Google wasn't. So the Myanmar citizens would use Facebook to do their research. That was the most bizarre thing that I experienced, because they would be going into Facebook to research everything under the sun. And can you imagine, Vanessa just talked about misinformation. Can you just imagine how dangerous that would have been, because you're looking through for information, maybe sometimes about the latest laws that were passed, and you're going to Facebook to do it, right? So that was a phenomenon at that time. That was what was happening at that time. I was invited by Daw Aung San Suu Kyi to support the advancement of rule of law in preparation for full democratization. At that particular time, things were looking really positive and encouraging and ambitious as well. But everything was in these formats. These were taken by me. You had the Burma Law Report, you had the books everywhere, and people were really, really excited about these books, but they didn't know what to do with it, and they didn't know how to communicate to the rest of the country. Everybody had a smartphone, though. Everybody had an Android phone, everybody was using Facebook. So do you see the contradictory situation happening here? So where do we come in? Well, that's where our expertise is, right? So we started step by step. We had many, many projects that we worked on. What I would like to share is this particular one, which is because it's going to make the most impact. At that particular time, the Supreme Court did not have a proper online website or tool that hosts their case law, right? So we worked with them. We developed a judgment writing template, because you can have technology, but if you don't have the knowledge of how to use technology, then technology wins and you don't. So we had to create a judgment writing template. We trained 520 judges across one full year on how to use judgment writing templates, and we consulted on an online publishing process for the Supreme Court of Myanmar. And we also developed a framework for continued digitization of old court records. And why was that? Because they wanted to improve their ranking in the Ease of Doing Business Index. And I'll show you a few examples here. I don't know whether it's very visible, but you can see that at that point in time, this is how data was organized. I can't make sense of it. You have a civil appeal, you have a you have no idea what these cases are. You cannot find anything. But of course, this was online, right? Technically you can, but it wasn't really helpful at this time. So what we did was we worked with them, and we created a way for the judges to upload their judgments in a specific format that people would be able to understand. The ratio decidendi would be clear, the holding would be clear, the parties' names would be clear, the judges' names would be clear. These are things that we do on a day-to-day basis. We just applied it to support the country at that time. And we did it in the Myanmar language. And until today, despite the fact that the coup happened, this site is still live. The judiciary is still uploading case law up there, and people can still access it, and lawyers can still access that as well. So it's really important for us to think about, yes, we have technology, but we also need the guardrails. Yes, data can be out there and can be made available to everyone, but data needs to be true data, factual, checkable, protected, and not necessarily open to misinformation and disinformation also. And of course, it's a work in progress. We do see that in many, many jurisdictions and many, many different countries, there are various levels of needs. And where we can, we believe passionately that technology is the way forward to make it accessible to more people. And we will protect the way we produce that as much as we can. These are some of our partners. We work together with multiple partners in Asia, this is us in particular in Asia, to bring rule of law to fruition in the specific jurisdictions. Thank you.